With the number of people infected by the COVID-19 virus continuing to rise, several districts, especially densely populated cities, are imposing or reimposing tough new lockdown measures. Here in Buenos Aires, the hardest hit part of Argentina, the authorities are putting tight travel restrictions back in place. The ban on outdoor exercise, lifted 3 weeks ago, returns on Wednesday, when the shutters will also come down on all non-essential businesses. Neighbouring Bolivia, approaching 1,000 COVID-19 deaths, and with some regional health systems at breaking point, has announced it will extend its quarantine until the end of July. However, in Mexico City, restrictions are being eased, with many businesses being allowed to reopen, although not all are convinced the coronavirus is retreating.
People are not very well informed. Unfortunately, we're not at the peak of this virus and I don't think we're prepared. I think there will be a second wave of infections.
And in Peru, one of the worst affected countries in Latin America, the government says the end is in sight and its 100-day lockdown will end on Tuesday. But borders will remain closed and some still struggling regions will keep their quarantines in place. Meanwhile, the stark economic impact of the pandemic is becoming clearer. The authorities in Cuba have asked all of those who can to grow their own food.
I sow all the little bits of land I have. Flowers are pretty because they provide beauty, but flowers don't provide food. I removed a few flowers my wife had there and I started to sow food. And I urge everyone to make the most of a bit of land, a small parcel at home.
And in Brazil, with nearly 58,000 deaths and more than 1.25 million people infected, the government has announced a record 11% budget deficit for May and more than 1 million jobs lost so far this year. As the country enters into recession, trading restrictions in some cities are being lifted. President Jair Bolsonaro says the economy is more important than what he calls a little flu. Ever larger and more frequent protests indicate that increasing numbers of Brazilians don't agree with him. Schweimler, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.